Imposter Syndrome is Real by Jose. Shout out to Jose, legendary devs poster and PlebDev. Over the last few months, whenever I attend meetups or conferences, I always face the dreaded question, what do you do? I start explaining my journey, completing a coding bootcamp, making websites, showcasing the apps I've created, and discussing my contributions to various projects. After listening to my experiences, people often respond with, oh, you're a developer. I've never called myself a developer or a software engineer because I've never held such a role at a company and never went to college. However, hearing others refer to me as a developer has been reassuring and tells me that I'm on the right path. Nice. So thank you for sharing, Jose. This is a very relatable feeling that a lot of us have, and I still have this very often. And this just so happens to be the very reason, or one of the primary reasons, that I created PlebDevs, I guess, and started calling myself Bitcoin PlebDev. You know, because before I was very public in Bitcoin, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, you know, I was into Bitcoin for a very long time, very alone, and I was on Twitter, and I was mostly just lurking. I followed a lot of Bitcoin accounts, but I never interacted. And then eventually I started learning how to code. Took a very long time for me to get the basic chops, but started writing some basic websites, some basic programs, some basic apps. I started playing around with my Bitcoin node for the first time and interacting with Bitcoin at a little bit of a lower level. And at a certain point, I guess I thought, you know, at a certain point there will be a moment to where I'm a developer. But it never really felt like that. And in fact, a lot of times the further deeper I got and the more people I met that were also developers, the worse I felt, because I felt like an idiot. I felt like what I knew was 2% of the whole world that I was claiming is my main vocation in life, right? If I say I'm a developer, but you know, I can hardly make an ugly website, what am I really saying? Like, you probably shouldn't trust me. And these are a lot of the thoughts that go through your head around imposter syndrome. And I think, I mean, I must have talked about this a decent amount before, but there's a lot of competing advice when it comes to imposter syndrome. But my solution was to call myself a PlebDev, essentially. My solution was like, okay, I know that I want to be a developer. I know that I'm going to keep working on this, but I also know that I'm not the best. And I don't want to misrepresent myself as someone that is an expert developer or someone that is more capable than I am. I want to frame myself as who I honestly am. And who was I honestly? I was a learner who was a Bitcoiner who was trying to become a developer. So I was someone on the path. And I just thought about names in my head of like, what is a way that I can frame this idea of that I'm just a developer, I'm a learner, I'm focused on Bitcoin. And that's where I came up with Bitcoin PlebDev. And then with Bitcoin PlebDev, I just pulled the PlebDev out of that. And I was like, hey, that's a cool little snippet right there. That's a cool framing. Maybe there's something to that. And I think it's a huge advantage. I think it's a way to frame yourself. It's a way to own your weaknesses. And not really be ashamed or embarrassed about them. But it's also like, you know, it's, what do people say? Under promise and over deliver as well. That's a way to do that. Like, don't over promise yourself. Don't over market yourself. Under market yourself, and then over deliver if you can. And so that's the framing of PlebDevs. That's why I think that framing is very powerful when it comes to imposter syndrome.